Donald Trump finally has a new pick for Attorney General after Matt Gaetz stepped aside. For Gaetz and his supporters, it was a disappointing moment. But inside Trump's political world, this was supposed to be a reset. The controversy cooled off, the pressure eased, and suddenly there was a familiar name back in the spotlight: Pam Bondi, a longtime ally, a former Florida Attorney General, someone who had defended Trump on television, stood beside him during impeachment, and campaigned with him when loyalty mattered most. On paper, this looked like the safe choice, the reliable choice. For a short moment, Trump's inner circle relaxed. Allies told reporters they felt relieved, believing Bondi would face a far smoother confirmation process than Gaetz ever could. She understood the legal system. She knew Washington. She had real courtroom experience and a reputation as a tough litigator. Commentators nodded and said, "This one makes sense." For about 5 minutes, the narrative held. Then things started to feel off. Because this story doesn't twist once, keeps twisting. Pam Bondi wasn't pulled out of nowhere. She served as Florida's Attorney General during the rise of the Tea Party movement, building an image as a disciplined, aggressive legal figure. She wasn't someone who needed training wheels. She had already proven she could operate under pressure. Later, she became one of Trump's most visible defenders, appearing regularly in the media, traveling with him, and taking on the role of loyal surrogate when others kept their distance. That loyalty was exactly why this next phase shocked so many observers. Because suddenly, she wasn't there. In Washington, absence is never neutral. When a high-profile figure stops appearing, stops talking, stops defending, people notice. And that's exactly what happened. No press interviews, no public appearances, no moments where you'd expect her to be front and center. Just silence. And in this town, silence always creates its own narrative. Around the same time, Trump's tone changed. Not quietly, not privately, publicly. On Truth Social, he began venting his frustrations. He complained that nothing was happening, that his enemies were still walking free, that figures like James Comey, Adam Schiff, and Letitia James remained untouched. In Trump's world, those posts aren't just emotional outbursts. They're signals. They tell insiders who's in favor and who's falling behind. Many political observers believe this was the turning point for Bondi. Not because of one single mistake, but because she suddenly appeared insufficient, too cautious, too slow, not aggressive enough. And whether that perception was fair almost stopped mattering. Because once Trump decides someone isn't delivering, the political math changes instantly. This stopped being about qualifications. Bondi had those. It became about loyalty as performance. In this system, competence isn't enough. Action has to be visible. It has to be loud. And most importantly, it has to satisfy Trump's personal sense of grievance and justice. That brings us to the Epstein Files controversy, a topic that has attracted years of speculation and intense online emotion. For a long time, Trump teased transparency around Epstein-related documents. Supporters believed a major reveal was coming. A date circulated online, December 19th, when unclassified materials were supposedly set to be released. When documents did emerge, critics claimed the release was minimal compared to what exists, throwing around numbers suggesting only a fraction of the total had been made public. Be clear, the exact figures and responsibility are still debated. But politics runs on perception, not footnotes. And the perception that spread quickly online was simple. This wasn't the moment people had been promised. Instead of closure, it created more suspicion, more questions, and more anger. Because Bondi's name was tied to the Justice Department in these discussions, she absorbed the fallout, fairly or not. From Trump's perspective, according to those watching closely, this looked like a missed opportunity. Something that should have energized his base instead turned into frustration. And once he began criticizing publicly, everything shifted. In Trump's orbit, public disapproval is radioactive. It tells lawmakers, staffers, and donors exactly where the wind is blowing. Authority drains fast. That's when rumors started circulating. Missed appearances, skipped events, moments where Bondi was expected but absent. A House Judiciary appearance she didn't attend. A major election-related conference she reportedly skipped. No explanations that fully satisfied critics or allies. Again, whether every detail is accurate matters less than how it landed. To many observers, it looked like fear, and that word kept coming up. Fear. This is where the story stops being about one person and starts being about the system surrounding Trump. When officials believe speaking publicly might make things worse, silence becomes self-defense. Testifying feels dangerous. Showing up feels risky. Online discussions even floated impeachment talk, pointing to resolutions with multiple co-sponsors. Whether those efforts had real momentum is debatable, but the symbolism was powerful. It signaled vulnerability. Inside the Justice Department, former officials and commentators described a tense atmosphere. Attrition numbers were cited, cases delayed, prosecutors frustrated. The causes are complex, but the narrative forming was one of instability and drift. Bondi had been chosen because she was trusted. She was supposed to be the loyal one. Yet the moment she was seen as not going far enough, not moving fast enough, she became expendable. That sends a chilling message throughout the system. Hesitation equals failure. And that kind of environment doesn't encourage careful legal judgment. It encourages overcorrection, performative action, decisions driven by fear instead of law. That's why legal analysts are uneasy, not because of Pam Bondi alone, but because of what her situation represents. If she's pushed out by pressure, resignation, or political force, the next pick won't be more cautious. It will likely be more aggressive, more theatrical, more willing to turn the Justice Department into a political weapon. Even some Republicans find that prospect unsettling. All of this is unfolding at a difficult moment. Special elections are slipping. Donors are hesitating. Conservative media is warning about enthusiasm gaps. Even parts of the MAGA base are openly frustrated, questioning whether Trump's team can execute effectively. And in the middle of it all sits a powerful image. An attorney general staying out of sight while the president lashes out in public. Fair or not, that image sticks. Voters remember it. Opponents weaponize it. Allies quietly step back. So when people ask what's really happening with Pam Bondi, the honest answer may be this. She's caught in a loyalty test that never ends. A system where yesterday's ally can become today's obstacle. Where silence feels safer than speaking. And whether she survives politically or not, the damage is already visible. The Justice Department looks weaker. The administration looks chaotic. And the message to everyone watching is unmistakable. Power here flows from approval, not process. And that's why this story matters. Not because of one name or one absence, but because it shows how quickly institutions bend when fear replaces trust.